Hello and welcome to Appendix 1 of the video series Pilin Toki Pona. The purpose of these appendix videos is to tell you a little bit about where these videos come from, what they're for, and just share some thoughts that I hope will be helpful about second language acquisition and language learning. So first, a little bit about me. I am not an academic, I am not a language teacher. Second language acquisition is one of my passions, and so pilin Toki Pona is a passion project of mine. Think of me as just a fellow traveller on the journey of language learning and teaching. What's the purpose of this video series pilin Toki Pona? Well, first of all, I want to give people a language acquisition experience. As you'll know from the other videos, I feel that people either don't know how language acquisition really works, or even if they do, they have difficulty trusting that it really will work. And so I've put these videos together to hopefully give people that first-hand experience that will give them the confidence they need in their language learning journey. Secondarily, this is a gift to the Toki Pona community. I hope they enjoy it, and I hope that many more will become interested in Toki Pona as a result of this video series. And thirdly, maybe a little presumptuously, I hope that this video series might be useful for research projects. Imagine if you take a group of people and you give one half of the group the Toki Pona book and the other half these videos and see what happens. That kind of an experiment would be very fast in Toki Pona. You could run the same experiment 10 times over with small variations before you could run that kind of experiment once with a natural language. Who knows? Okay, so a little bit about my influences. Obviously, Stephen Krashen. Stephen Krashen is still around. In fact, he is still very active, and if I get to his age and I am as active as he is, I'll be very grateful. He has made most of his materials available for free online on his personal website, sdkrashen.com. And if you read nothing else, I really would recommend that you read his 1982 book, Principles and Practice in Second Language Acquisition. It's really good to read that to get a grounding in the concepts of language acquisition. Otherwise, you're dealing in snippets that you've heard here or there. Another important teacher, I could say, of mine, even though I've never met him personally, is Bill Van Patten. And specifically, there was a podcast, Tea with BVP, which you can still listen to. It's still there on all the podcast apps. I really recommend it because Bill Van Patten is somebody who is currently active as a second language acquisition researcher, who I think is unusually active in reaching out to language teachers in the United States, in high schools and in other places. And the way he explains things in that podcast is really very helpful. I've also learned a lot from a number of YouTubers. YouTube has become a very useful resource for sharing ideas these days. I would like to especially mention two YouTubers. One is Lamont from Days of French and Swedish, and in some ways I feel a kind of kindred spirit with him because he has gone through a process that's somewhat similar to mine of trying all the hard ways first and then finding that actually input is the way to go. Also, Matt versus Japan. He specifically did a very interesting video about the subconscious mind and why it's reasonable to believe that that's how it works. And so that was very useful. And of course, Matt is somebody who has used immersion type methods to learn Japanese. And so his experience is quite useful. Refold.la is a site that explains an input oriented method of learning a language by yourself through self-study, I recommend you go and check that out. What method am I using in these videos? Well, you could say that at its foundation, it's ALG, automatic language growth. So automatic language growth was put forward by J. Marvin Brown, who was in Thailand for a very long time, and he really pulled out all the stops to come up with a way to make the audiolingual method work effectively. And when he ran up against a brick wall, he discovered Crashen, and then he kind of out-Crashened Crashen in the sense that he came up with a way of teaching languages that is completely comprehensible input based and no book study at all, even discouraging people from speaking early until the language came naturally to them. And that's a very fascinating method to me. I think it can teach us all a lot about learning languages and teaching languages. It doesn't seem to be mentioned very much in academic research or in other language learning and teaching method sources. So I think it's something that should be put on the map as an interesting implementation of second language acquisition concepts. As to the nuts and bolts, what I'm doing here is an adapted version of the story listening method by Beniko Mason. Of course, I have tweaked things a little bit. I am using photographs and pictures sometimes instead of drawing them myself. I hope she would still approve of what I've done with it. And also, I would like to especially thank Pablo Roman of Dreaming Spanish and Christian Peltonen of Beyond Language Learning. Both of those have been very active in the ALG side of things. Both of them are promoting ALG or ALG-inspired methods. Pablo Roman actually went out to Thailand, did that course specifically with the goal of seeing if it worked, and now he's got a site, dreamingspanish.com, which is using this method, or at least a method very similar to it, which he's calling the OG immersion method, to teach Spanish, and it's a wonderful site. If I was learning Spanish, I would be using that. And Christian Peltonen has made some very useful YouTube videos explaining the ALG method, and he is also using that method to teach English through YouTube videos. Give that a go as well. But both Pablo and Christian took a look at my early videos, and they gave me some very useful feedback. So I want to thank them especially. As always, any errors belong to me, but I want to credit everybody who has contributed to where I am now, wherever that is. So what language am I teaching through this method? I'm teaching a language called Toki Pona. Specifically, I'm teaching a minimal version of Toki Pona. So in 2014, Sonia Lang came out with Toki Pona, the Language of Good, which describes a language that has a core vocabulary, which has a vocabulary of 120 words. I am using that form of the language because that is the minimal form of the language that is commonly used today. And of course, the less words I have, the better, because the point is to help you acquire a language in the shortest possible time. So of course, I'm going to use the minimal version, the most minimal version that I can. But if you're using these videos specifically to learn Toki Pona, then you might ask, well, that's that version of Toki Pona. Will I be able to go and use that today? Cards on the table, this is the situation. In 2021, again, Sonia Lang came out with a Toki Pona dictionary, which is a descriptivist work, which explains which documents the way that Toki Pona is used on the largest online community, which is the Discord server Mapona Toki Pona. And here's what you've got. The core vocabulary now is considered to comprise 137 words. So what's that? That's 17 words on top of videos will give you. As to grammar, the grammar works the same as it always has, but there is a small innovation in the sense that in this 2014 book version of the language, there's a small set of verbs that can be used as auxiliary verbs, also called preverbs. The way Toki Pona is used today, there are more words that can be used in that role, but that's the only serious grammatical innovation that might trip you up when you get into using Toki Pona in online communities. So I don't think that's a terrible ask. Basically, if you finish these videos, whatever these videos will give you will be basically 97%, 98% of where you want to be, and then you can just pick up what's left by interacting with the Toki Pona community. So that's it for this video. See you in the next one.